Good evening, everyone. Time is 6:30 p.m. on August the 17th, 2021. This regular meeting of the Mayor and Council is now called to order. Roll call. All council members are present. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation. There's the flag up. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Powell, will you lead us in invocation, please?
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Father, we are grateful tonight for a blue sky and really a little cooler evening. Lord, we're just grateful that you have given us the fruit of rain to replenish our world, and now you give us the beauty of what happens afterwards. And Lord, we're just grateful. We ask that your glory in that way will shine over this city to be replenished. And as a result of what our council would consider tonight, that they would be that blessing on this city. Lord, give them wisdom and strength to do the things that are right, to listen very carefully, and to make good decisions for this city, Lord. We just give you thanks. We thank you for all those who work so hard at this city to honor their citizens with hard work and as city employees. And Lord, we're just grateful for all of them and ask you to bless them and give them your favor. And Lord, we thank you for our council tonight, that they take the time to be here. And Lord, we ask that you would bless them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Tony. Have a few announcements to make. Excuse me. Municipal Court, August the 18th, 1 p.m. tomorrow in the community room. Planning Commission, August the 24th. That meeting has been canceled. Tree Board meeting, August the 26th at 6 p.m. That meeting's also canceled. Our council work session, September the 2nd, 6:30 p.m. in our community room. Main Street Commission meeting, September the 14th, 8 a.m., Church at the Grove. The Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, also on the 14th at 10 a.m. That's a Zoom meeting. Historic Preservation meeting, September the 14th, 6 p.m. That's in the community room. Municipal Court, September 15th, 1 p.m., also in the community room. Our next council meeting, September 21st, 6:30 p.m., also here at the theater. Before we move into the presentations, outside, if you did not see the sign-in sheets, we're doing things a little differently tonight. We placed some sheets out there. So if you're here to speak in favor of or against any of our public hearings this afternoon, please take the opportunity now to go out and sign those sheets if you've not done so already. And then we'll move on with the rest of the meeting. Presentations. I don't believe we have any new employee recognition tonight. Downtown rundown.
Good evening. This is the downtown rundown for August 2021. First item is Taste of Social Circle. The Taste of Social Circle is currently scheduled for Friday, September 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is usually a spring event. Main Street decided to move it to the fall this year. The committee for this event is working with the restaurants, since most of them are short-staffed right now, in order to make this event helpful and not a strain on the business owners. We have entertainment lined up for the event, and I'll provide more updates as soon as we get them. Downtown filming. It was sort of a hectic week last week in downtown with the start of school and filming going on. There were several traffic issues that we had to work through, but all in all, it went pretty well. Primary filming started on August the 10th and ended on Saturday the 14th. Prep work to make the town look revitalized will be going on between now and September the 2nd, when crews will return for their final 2 days of filming. The 27th Annual Friendship Festival is coming up. We're working on the festival, which will be Saturday, October 2nd, from 10 to 4 p.m. Plans are to distance vendors the same as we did last year, and to provide a restroom trailer like we did last year too. So far, we have around 50 vendors signed up, and registration ends on September the 17th. That's all I have.
Any questions for Amber?
I've got one question about, there's a thing on Facebook going around about the Kiwanis Clubs planning something on the 29th in the park.
Yes.
Do they have a permit? Did they have a permit prior to our action?
No, they're under the first come, first serve rule now for the park. They didn't have a permit before.
That was not the meaning of it. It was meant for like a group. There was not to be a group gathering in the park.
Okay.
First come, first serve meant like a small group, not an event.
So should they still apply for use or no use at all?
From my understanding of what we voted on an event, you can't have an event in the park. It's first come, first serve citizen, not group.
Okay.
Is that not what we voted on?
I think the vote was first come, first serve. I think that when you say first come, first serve, you open it up to a part that the first person that gets there can do whatever they want to do there because they're there first. So I think I knew when we voted on this that this is going to come up. So we're going to have to make it a little bit more clear than first come, first serve, because they're the first person when they get there. If somebody gets there first, then they can't run them away. But if the Kiwanis clubs get there first, then they can set up and do what they want to do at the park. Because that's how it's
But
written.
even
The
at
city
that-
attorney could, that's what I think we opened it up to.
Well, even at that, my comment is you can't, it's a city park. You can't reserve, I mean, even if you think you've reserved it, you haven't. You have to have other traffic in there. I mean, if people are in there wanting to just visit the park, walk around with their children, their pets, whatever, you can do that. They don't have to be part of that event.
And I don't think that they're saying that they can't come to the park.
Right.
So, I mean, you still can walk around with your kids and do anything that you want to do in that park, but they're also doing something in that park as well. My biggest question is, do they have power? Okay.
Well, I know that ain't gonna
There's
happen
no-
because we already went down that road.
I
No
was
city
just
wasn't
to
gonna
make
provide
sure they didn't
power.
have power.
There's no application, but typically in the past, the city has worked with, like, we've partnered with Stanton Memorial Library, over the summer to do things there throughout the summer. And typically in the past, it's just been a partnership in doing things such as the Kiwanis event, because they're piggybacking off of the downtown trick or treat and offering something for people to do to keep them downtown after the downtown trick or treat is over with.
Is that what you're doing? Are you partnering with them?
Well, I have worked with them on this,
No,
yes, so.
that ain't, but that goes back to the same thing with Juneteenth, and y'all didn't partner with them, or you partner with this group?
In a city capacity, no.
Well, then it goes back to the same thing with Juneteenth, and they shouldn't.
No, they're going to be there first. Then they should be allowed because we voted for first come, first serve.
Oh, all right.
Tony,
What
do
if
you have
that-
anything, Tony or Jay, do you have anything to add to that?
I heard the debate just like you did, just like you guys did, and there was an action to take the permitting process of special events off. And so I'm confident that there's no permitting process and no reason for them to permit. And then it gets complicated after that. I mean, I don't know that looking at the language of the minutes is going to clarify the confusion when two council members aren't sure on it. It probably needs further action. It would seem to me that from the action that was taken, if the Kiwanis Club shows up and sets up in the public park, then there's not a regulation in place to stop them, to say you can't do that.
We just, because we also had, I think, Mr. Boyd Church gave away ice cream in the park as well.
So to restrict it further in terms of uses, it's probably going to take another action of council if that's, because you really did do first come, first serve. And then after that, it didn't have a lot of definition to it that I can remember being in that, so.
Okay, this event is October the 29th, I believe.
Yes, sir, it's to be after the downtown trick or treat.
Okay, would the council like to revisit this? I mean, we've got a little bit of time. It could come back in September. See what you want to do, if there's any modification to what you've already done on it.
Yeah, that probably would be the wisest thing. I will say the one big difference in this event, it seems like, is that they are fundraising for a cause, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is some money that is switching hands opposed to just a free event like some other people might put on. So I don't know if that puts a wrench in any of the other
It is,
conversation.
it's a free event, but they are doing sponsorships for
Yeah.
the event,
Yeah.
yes. So, but there's not a cost,
Yeah.
of course.
So all the pros, everything's free, that they're just taking sponsors to help put on the event so they can use that sponsorship towards something else.
For the Books Are Key program and, I believe scholarships, workforce scholarships, yes.
I'm confused. I want to know exactly what we would revisit, because when we approved this, I thought it was first come, first serve. However, you can't deny anybody from coming to the park. So if we go revisit, are we going back to permitting?
No, I don't think there's anything that says we're going
The
back.
problem
Just
that-
some
The problem that I
clarification.
seen was what I was trying to get is if somebody else shows up there that same night and set up, then we've got an event that's advertised in Social Circle, and there's already gonna be somebody in there. I don't want it to end up being a conflict with a big group show up, and then you got another big group that got there before they do, and here they are, I mean, they've advertised. That's what I was trying to get around.
So that's why the first come, first serve is not the way that you want to word that. But if you don't want anybody to rent the park or have it for large groups, then I guess you would say no large gatherings in the park. But then you have to come up with a number to make sure that you're saying what is considered a large gathering. And, so if 10 people from one family decide they want to go up to the park, is that a large gathering? You don't want them hanging out in the park? So I guess the first come, first serve, going back to what was passed, means that the first group gets there, uses the park. So if we revisit it and we keep it as first come, first serve, the only other thing we could say, if it's somebody else there, then you can't be there because you didn't get there first.
Or we could keep a schedule. I did mention that before, with something going on like this.
That's just allowing somebody, if we do a schedule, then we're scheduling somebody to rent something or to use something.
No,
and
you're
we're
not renting.
We're
You just-
scheduling them to use it. So we're just going to
Right.
allow people, we'll schedule people to use the park. So how do we determine who we're not going to allow to be scheduled and who we would allow to be scheduled?
If it's an organization, maybe, that's something we have to look at.
So it sounds like we should maybe bring this up at the next
Yeah,
work session for some
Why don't
clarity.
we do this? Ask Eric, will you put that on our September work session so we can just have more conversation about it? Not that we're going to take any action, but I think we just need to
And can you
get
find out?
clarification.
Yeah, we'll also, study what this, how other cities around us approach this. Maybe
Well,
come up
that's
with
what
some sort of
Guys Bowl
recommendation.
is at, because other cities around us rented their parks, and then we came up with a rule to rent our parks, and now we don't want to rent our parks. So we're going to have to come up with something that's special to Social Circle.
Okay. We'll look into it, and we'll have it at the next work session.
So
Okay.
do we need to put the Kiwanis on notice that they can or cannot use the park because they're advertising pretty good?
It sounds like it's a gray area. There ain't nothing for us to do.
I mean, we passed first come, first serve, so I think they should be allowed, you know, I don't think we should deny them.
Yeah, they just can't use power.
And that's another thing, I think we should look at that power, because if we're offering, if that park has power, we need to look at that. I mean, to have power and not let people use it, it's kind of minute.
Okay. Anything else for Amber? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have citizens' requests. I don't know of any. Are there any council requests?
I have one. I took a class this past GMA, and it was dealing with sex trafficking as well as kids trafficking and human trafficking. And they was saying that a lot of times that cities need to incorporate that into their staff, like the people that's actually the roads and, you know, out in the roads and the fields. So I know the police chief probably know more about it. I just think we need, as a city, need to figure out a way that we can trickle that down to the people who's out on the streets that might see some of this or know what to look for, that can help some of this trafficking in our area. I mean, we are close enough to the metro Atlanta that some of that stuff probably comes through here as well. So I don't know where we're looking at, but just, you know, something that we can think about looking into.
Sounds like a good job for our new city manager.
I'm happy to take a look at what you, the information that you had from GMA,
Yep.
and talk with the police chief and figure out how we can incorporate it. I agree. I think it's an important topic. We need to
Because they said that they
disseminate
use,
more.
you know, it's one as far as like the fire departments, and because, you know, they might get out there on the scene or
Right.
see something and notice that, you know, something's going on more than what it really is.
Right, right.
Any other council requests? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion from Steve Shelton, second from Tracy Price. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're now set for a series of 3 public hearings. First public hearing is Connor Springs subdivision, Spring Street. I'll ask our staff representative to give us a report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you a public hearing on Connor Springs subdivision. This is a parcel ID SC 170040 at 353 Spring Street. This proposal is to rezone from agricultural AG to medium-density residential. This is a picture of the site at 353. This consists of 46.9 acres. This is off Spring Street, right across from the Social Circle Veterinarian. The next slide will show you the rezone or the zoning of these properties around the area. The zoning to the south is zoned AG. That's a lower density zoning. And then the property to the north, east, and west is zoned RMD, residential medium density. This is our future land use map. You'll see the site there, and it is the neighborhood character area. Okay, we have went to the Planning Commission, and the developer has agreed to 12 conditions for this development. There would be a total lot count shall not exceed 111 lots. There shall be no manufactured homes or duplexes allowed. All homes shall have the following minimum architectural requirements. They will have a carriage-style garage doors with decorative hardware or other embellishment shall be used on all homes, and each home shall have not less than 2-car garage. The roofing material used on all homes shall be a cedar-shaped, 3-tab architectural dimensional style asphalt shingles or metal as appropriate to the architectural style of each home as designed by the builder. All overhangs, including gables and side gables, will have a minimum of a 12-inch overhang on all sides. The developer shall use a variety of techniques to avoid monotonous appearance of identical homes. Such techniques may employ, among others, the use of different front elevations, architectural styles, building exterior, and other similar techniques so that no house is the same as any house directly in front of or either adjacent to the side. For houses directly in front or either to the adjacent side, mirrored or reversed front elevation shall not be considered adequate to fulfill this requirement. All homes shall have at least one 12-inch house and foundation offset in the front. The exterior materials for all homes shall consist of brick, stone, cement-based lap siding, cement-based siding panel, cedar, and/or shake. 50% of the homes shall have a front facade with a minimum of 50% brick or stone. This 50% shall be measured as a percentage of actual covered wall space and would exclude doors and windows. If 50% of these homes shall have a minimum 50% facade on 3 sides of the home, front and both sides. All lots shall have homes with a minimum heated area of 1,700 square feet, excluding the garage, for the 1-story, and 1,900 square feet for a 2-story type home. At least 25% of the lot shall have homes with a minimum heated floor space, excluding the garage, of 2,200 square feet heated floor space. All roof vents, pipes, and other roof equipment except chimneys shall be located on the rear elevations and shall be painted to match the color of the roof. No above-ground swimming pools shall be permitted. No window air conditioning units may be installed. Vinyl siding is prohibited, however, the soffits may be finished in vinyl. Each house shall contain a minimum of 15% clear glazing, windows and doors on the front elevation. Each house shall contain a garage with a minimum interior of 440 square feet. The rear and side elevation shall be the same construction quality and exterior as the front. While multiple exterior materials are used on a single structure, they shall only be combined on each facade horizontally with the heavier material at the bottom. The side and rear elevation of the homes are to contain brick, stone, water table, matching the front elevation masonry material. The water table shall be established from finished lot to the bottom of the first floor windows, or at least 30 inches in height, whichever is lower. Amenity is to include swimming pool and at least 2 tennis courts. The amenities must be completed prior to the recording of Phase 2 final plat. The stormwater pond on the north side of the stream, as shown on the zoning site plan, Exhibit A, must have an operating foundation. Developers shall establish an HOA and cause a declaration of covenants and restrictions to be recorded, subjecting all 46.9 acres to the HOA and ensuring the maintenance of all amenities and the HOA common areas as applicable. The declaration of covenants of the HOA shall cap rental homes at 25% of total ownership upon any demand or requirement from any government jurisdiction, including but not limited to the United States and from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or through any existing or future acts such as the Fair Housing Act. The Board of Directors of the HOA shall approve necessary resolutions to amend the declaration to apply with such demands and/or requirements. The developer shall contribute $500 per lot to the Social Circle City Schools. Payment shall be made prior to recording of the final plats as lots are recorded. No proposed lots or roads shall have a studied 100-year flood limit within their boundaries and/or right-of-way. 100-year ponding out of the storm structure is allowed so long as the minimum finished floor is 1 foot above such ponding elevation. The developer shall provide easements and/or dedicate a minimum 10-foot wide path for the Social Circle Greenway from Spring Street to the southeastern edge of the property along the stream as shown on the zoning site map, Exhibit A. The easement and/or dedication of the proposed section of Social Circle Greenway shall satisfy all the requirements of the developer as he relates to the Social Circle Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan 2020. This shall be dedicated at the time of the final plat recording. There shall be a 15-foot undisturbed buffer backing to the single parcels on Cannon, Kane Avenues, Cedar Street, and Chestnut Street. The HOA shall be responsible for the maintenance of this 15-foot undisturbed buffer via an easement recorded on the final plat and language recorded in the Declaration of Covenants. All lots shall have a minimum of 10,000 square feet area. This project's going to be planned in 3 phases. Phase 1's going to have 26 lots. It'll be served by gravity sewer with access on Spring Street. Phase 2 will have 36 lots and the second entrance to Kane Avenue and the completed amenity areas. Phase 3 is remaining 49 lots. The utility plan will be that the water plan includes the looping of the water from a 6-inch main at the wastewater plant to a 6-inch water main on Spring Street so that there's no dead ends. On the plan, they have a minimum 8-inch water main installed as noted on the plans. This will help reduce water breaks. The system will be less vulnerable to have water breaks, provide greater water quality when it comes to fighting fires. The gas will be looped around the whole subdivision. The side the water main is on, the gas would need to be on the outside of the water main by 2 feet. This would save the city from having to bore under the roads. This is a map of showing the phases. The phase 1 is the purple, is the 26 lots in the middle. Phase 2 is the yellow down toward the south and coming off that entrance on Kane Avenue. The phase 3 is in the top corner of the red, which is the remaining 49 lots. Now this is a site example of a lot that's the 10,000 square feet with the house and a 12 by 24 accessory building in the back if somebody wanted a storage building. They would have room. And the proposed subdivision will generate, this is the trip time, and I know you can't probably read that real well. The proposed subdivision is going to generate 84 a.m. peak hour trips, 118 peak hour trips in the p.m., and they gave us an estimate of 1,145 trips for the week, day trips. Now, the traffic study is completed on the package, in your package. It has the complete traffic study. The Planning Commission, along with staff, wishes to recommend approval of the request to rezone the parcel SC 1700040, 353 Spring Street, from agricultural AG to residential medium density, and approve this sketch plan. I do have one comment to make after this is the actual, on the traffic. We had several comments about traffic, and the chief actually asked if we would add to his report of making sure if they could do anything different coming off of Kane to look at it and get it as close to the front is possible. Like I said, there was some concerns about traffic when you're coming, the cars are parking on Kane, and if they're coming out on Kane, they might run into some cars parked on the street. So the chief said they looked at it today, kind of if they could bring it down, and that will be more in detail on our preliminary plans when that comes back to the Planning Commission. This is the sketch plan. This is phase 1 of the 3-step process. So this is the rezone and the sketch plan. They will still have to go back to the Planning Commission with the preliminary, and then we will also have to have the land disturbance permits, and those will have to be done and approved before they do it. So that is another thing to consider that we'd have to work out down the road.
Barbara, is that recommendation from police chief or fire chief?
Fire chief.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Barbara?
I saw the water pond, did I see that correctly, that there would be a fountain there?
They had one on the first plan, I think, but I don't think they're going to do a fountain in this one, are they, Kevin?
In what you read, it said fountain. I think you said foundation, but it was
It's
actually was
founda-
fountain.
That's a good point. It's foundation, it's supposed to be foundation.
Oh, okay.
Are you putting a fountain in? Okay, okay. Well, I thought it was one on there.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put a picture of that up here on the slide. I think it's in our website, that it's got all that attachments with the exhibits, but it should have the fountain. I knew they had started it, the first of it, that they were going to put a fountain out there. They're going to try to dress it up and have a walking area and stuff like that through that 10-foot trail that they're going to dedicate.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Okay?
I believe the applicant is here. Do you have anything you'd like to present to us?
Yeah, the applicant is Mr. Kevin Seifert.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Kevin Seifert. I'm with the Pacific Group. We're here before you tonight to, as Barbara stated, present our rezoning and sketch plat application for 46 acres on 353 Spring Street between Cannon Drive and Chestnut Street, from AG to RMD. These 46 acres are all within the parcel SC 170040. We initially presented to the Planning Commission, and through a pretty good long meeting, determined that if we requested a withdrawal of our then current application, we could come back with a new application to address the following items. It'll be quick, just touches on some of those that Barbara's already talked about, but these were made between our two Planning Commission hearings. We increased the minimum lot size to 10,000 square feet. By doing so, we simultaneously reduced our lot count from 133 lots down to 111 lots, which in turn helps reduce impacts on things such as schools and traffic. We also provided a 15-foot undisturbed buffer back into the single-family parcels on Cannon Drive, Kane Avenue, Cedar Street, and Chestnut Street. We increased the minimum square footage for the homes for both one-story and two-story homes. We increased the minimum for one-story homes from 1,600 to 1,700 square feet. We increased the minimum on the two-story homes from 1,750 to 1,900. And we also provided that regardless of the type of home, at least 25% of all lots must have a minimum of 2,200 square feet. Finally, we further specified that 50% of the homes shall have a front facade with minimum 50% brick or stone. And then at least 50% of those homes shall have 50% brick or stone that continues down at least both sides also, for a total of at least 3 sides. Additionally, we have a condition in 3P that already requires all the side and rear elevations of the homes to contain a brick or stone water table, matching the front elevation masonry material. So the water table shall establish from finished lot grade to the bottom of the first floor windows, or at least 30 inches in height, whichever is lower. And ultimately, all this means is all the homes will have brick or stone, and that material will carry around all sides of the home. Our request to rezone from AG to RMD remains consistent with the 2026 future land use map, as the 46-acre parcel falls fully in the imagined social circle neighborhoods character area in the comprehensive plan, and yet now we have even a lower density than we had originally presented. This single-family development is consistent with the neighborhood's character area by definition as a compatible zoning district as defined in the comp plan. This request still includes our proposed conditions from last month's application and presentation, just as Barbara presented. Just to summarize, in addition to the changes that I've highlighted there, we have the 16 architectural conditions, a requirement for an amenity and a pool and tennis courts, a condition for a fountain in the storm pond, a a requirement for a declaration of covenants, a rental cap, a contribution to the city, or the social circle city schools, protection against 100-year flood from being in the right-of-way or lot boundaries, dedication for the school or social circle greenway as it relates to the social circle bicycle and pedestrian plan. And our updated full list of 12 conditions includes the architectural condition that actually has 16 sub-items. So since Barbara read through them all, we know the extent of all those. Since the Planning Commission hearing, we did, which are included in what she read, we clarified a couple items by helping add some language to condition number 9 and number 11. For condition number 9, we clarified that while no 100-year flood limit may be within the boundary of a lot or right-of-way, we did touch on that a 100-year ponding elevation out of a storm structure may exist, just so there wasn't confusion when we go through the engineering process. Minimum finished floors of the home still have to be a foot above that even ponding elevation. And then on condition number 11, we clarified that the HOA will be responsible for the maintenance of the 15-foot undisturbed buffers via an easement that will be recorded on the final plat, and then via also language recorded in the Declaration of Covenants. In summary, we urge you to vote to approve this request. That is a 17% reduction in the proposed number of lots from our first Planning Commission hearing. Again, down from 133 down to 111 lots. We hope you make this vote that is before you tonight that comes with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. We hope you make that vote based on our willingness to work with the city and all of our neighbors, as shown through our actions tonight and over the past many months. Our willingness to agree to the now 12 proposed conditions of zoning, one of which actually has 16 sub-architectural conditions. And number 3, because we're in substantial compliance with the city's comprehensive plan. And I will just touch on the chief's comments on the entrance on Kane. We are very willing to work. I know when we go through the preliminary plat process and then again through the land disturbance permit process, both the chief and the city's review engineer will help us fine-tune exactly how we can do that, and I think there's a number of ways that can be done. We're already within 2 houses of Cannon Drive, so I'm sure we can work that through in the detailed design process. And with that, we would just like to reserve the rest of our time for any questions you may have, or if there are any public comments that we would need to speak on.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I've got one question, and this is not a requirement, Kevin. When we talked about it, we talked about the buffers and how what's there is privy hedge and stuff like that.
Yep.
Not saying that we're going to deny the plat, but would you be interested in, instead of having a 15-foot buffer, just putting up a privacy fence instead of a buffer? Because on Kane Street, if you look at it, I rode over and looked at it, it's got a bunch of that privy hedge that hangs over in the street.
Yeah.
And if you had a 15-foot no disturb buffer, these folks are going, I don't think they're going to want privy hedge in their backyard, and they're going to be out there trimming it, and it's going to constantly be a problem for the city code enforcement to go out there and tell them, you can't trim that. You put up a privacy fence, that just solves it, and the homeowners are going to be responsible for it anyway. And how they going to keep up privy hedge with a buffer? I know what they were trying to do, but I just don't see where
With the
requiring
privacy,
them to have a 15-foot buffer, how you going to keep it up? I just don't see.
I think Planning Commission had wanted screening,
Yeah.
which I think the privacy fence would provide. I mean, from our perspective, the privacy fence would go on the shared property line between us and these neighbors, right?
Yes.
But there'd no longer be a 15-foot, is what you're saying.
Yes.
If there was a vote that voted to approve with that amended condition, we would be fine with either version. Yes.
Anything else for Kevin?
I think we talked about the entranceway, and it looks like when you're coming in your entranceway, you're just stopping your sidewalk. Would you be able to run the sidewalk on the other side of Kane all the way out to Cannon as well, just to get that sidewalk on that side of the road?
Yeah, I think
I mean, you see what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
stops at-
relatively speaking, I think that's reasonable to us because we're not a super long distance from Cannon. So, yeah.
Anything else?
I
Thank you,
guess the
Kevin.
fountain, is the fountain something that you came up with, or was that a condition? I mean, I know it will look nice, but what happens when it goes out?
It's managed by the HOA, so even no different than the pool or tennis courts having maintenance issues, the HOA would maintain it. It derived, honestly, from a previous public or attempted rezoning where
Okay.
people had asked for it, so we thought it was
Okay.
carrying
I was just
over, carrying
That's
over
fine.
the
I was
idea.
trying to figure out how we come up with a fountain. But that's-
I think it does help with this, when you have a pond, it gives some flow, it helps keep it looking
And
better.
And encourage you to clean out around it because
Yeah.
it gives you, I was just trying to figure out why we came up with it.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
At this point, I would typically open the public hearing for speakers for and against. However, we had no one sign up for that, so I'll take the action of opening and closing the public hearing and bringing it back to the city council for discussion and a decision.
I'll make a motion to approve the plat as presented without the 15-foot buffer and with a privacy fence. And with ties, extension of the sidewalk to King.
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin. All right, next on our agenda, we have a subdivision variance mandatory access point on Alcova Drive, property SC 020001.
Excuse me. Yes, sir. We have an application for a proposed subdivision variance. This property at SC 020001 consisting of 100 acres. They are proposing a subdivision with one access point, and this property is zoned agricultural. It's AG. It would have to go through the rezoning process if the variance were to pass. The next slide will show the site. This is the 100 acres. It is zoned AG, and to the left is AG. To the west is R15, and then you have AG on the other side. So it's surrounded by AG and R15 properties in that area. This is a future land use map. It does show the site, and my arrow went a little bit over there. But it's that yellow one where the arrows are, and it's neighborhood character area. At the moment, it is zoned AG, so that is low density, and what they would probably ask for down the road would be R15. On our zoning ordinance, number 2020, ordinance number 11, this states for street access connectivity, and the purpose of this ordinance was for the arrangement of streets shall provide for the continuation of principal streets between adjacent properties when the continuation is necessary for the convenient movement of traffic, effective fire protection, for effective provisions of utilities, where the my brain has just lost my place. Continuation is in accordance with the city traffic plan. The minimum access points are as follows. These new subdivision developments shall have access to a collector street. The number of access points shall be 30 lots shall have one access point. Subdivisions 31 to 200 shall have at least 2 access points. All subdivisions must provide stub connections to adjacent subdivision to enable an integrated road network. If the adjacent property is undeveloped and the street must temporarily be a dead-end street, the right-of-way shall be extended to the property line. A temporary T or L-shaped turnabout shall be provided on all the temporary dead-end streets with the notation on the subdivision plat that land outside the normal street right-of-way shall revert to abuts whenever the street is continued. The mayor and council may limit the length of the temporary dead-end street in accordance with the design standards of this ordinance. The exceptions to the subsection shall only be allowed in conditions where it would be impossible or impractical for the property owners to comply with this regulation. It will be in the discretion of the mayor and council to grant such exceptions. The Planning Commission, along with staff, met last month on this, and I apologize, your map of this subdivision is attached to your package, and I did not put one in the PowerPoint, is attached, and the Planning Commission, along with the staff, would recommend to deny this variance request to allow construct a new subdivision of 96 lots with only one access point.
Questions for Barbara?
I think I got a text message or something from somebody that was willing to drop this down from 96 to 38. Is this the same applicant?
Yes.
I heard that, yes, but that was not what we took to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
The plan that we had was the one that's attached to the website is the 96 lots. That was the application when it started.
Okay. So if we, I guess the question, if we table this and send it back down and allow him to present the 38 instead of the 31, wouldn't that be better? Because if we deny this, then we stop anything on this site for a year.
That is true. We did suggest that when they made the application, and they said it would not be feasible, and they wanted to move forward, and that's what we did. So now I've heard that there is a plan out there that they might want to come back to the Planning Commission and re-present it.
If you do 38, you still got to have a
You
variance.
still got to have a variance because it's 30.
But we're looking at 7 houses opposed to, 96 houses.
That's true.
Which is way lower. I mean, we want to be, 7 houses, 7 more homes? I mean, I guess we can ask the applicant that.
Well, that's a good point, Tyson. Let's thank you, Barbara.
Okay.
Let's let the
And
applicant.
Mr. Ned Butler, he's the applicant. He's here.
Thank you, Barbara. Ned?
My name's Ned Butler. I represent Reliant Homes. I do want to give a little bit of background. Before we applied for any rezone or variance, we did meet with the city staff, and they brought this to our attention because it wasn't in the online code. It was so newly passed when we met with them. In discussions, they said they couldn't speak to the council for anything over 30 lots because that's what's in the code. So you would have to give a variance for that. So we proceeded forward with, okay, we're going to just show the maximum density that we could get based on early soil studies that were done, and we can always back down from that, from discussions, and figure out what the council would be comfortable with. So we moved forward with that action, and we decided, okay, let's go with the variance before we go through the full rezone process, because if 30 is a drop dead number, we need to know that and decide whether we want to move forward with the rezone action at all. So that's when we decided to move forward. And, if I can't get feedback, if there's going to be no more than 30, then I might as well ask for the most I can get and back it down from there. We went to Planning Commission. There was nobody that spoke publicly against the variance request. There were no questions of me in that meeting from Planning and Zoning. And then when they made the motion to deny it, there was discussion from the person that made the motion of if it was 40 to 45 lots, that would be different, but 96 was just way too many. There was a concurrence from another member. There was another member that said, maybe if it was 2 to 3 lots over it, then they may be comfortable with it. So at that, I went back and got with our team. I'm not the sole decision maker with our company, and we've hand-drawn a new drawing making the lots wider, and they still have to be pretty deep because we're proposing these as septic lots, not sewered lots. So got to have a fair amount of usable soils to install that septic system. And dropped it down to 38 lots with just one really large estate lot in the back. And I am open to any discussions and questions on that because I don't want to waste anybody's time or money on our end or your time if there's not a willingness to go over 30. But if there's a willingness to go to 33, 35, 40, whatever that number is, we'd like to know that so we can plan and present something that may have a chance of being approved. So based on the comments we heard at P&Z, that's when we came back with, okay, I'll see if they will make a motion. And I would like to ask for a motion if you're willing to. If not, I don't want it denied to go back for a variance approval for no more than 38 lots, and then we will submit the rezone with a new sketch plan showing 38 lots in September to P&Z. I mean, I will say, and I do need to insert our and the property owner's constitutional rights that any denial of the variance would violate the applicant's constitutional rights to equal protection and due process. That's just legal mumbo jumbo I have to do. But I am open to any discussion and public comment and feedback because we would like to do the project, but I'd like to be able to present something that y'all would consider. And if the number is 30, then just tell me it's 30.
But at 30 lots, that's not feasible for you guys.
It's a lot of infrastructure to install
Yeah.
for 30 lots, and you've got a property owner that owns 100 acres, which is the same size of Laurel Oaks next door, that does have 2 entrances, but it's a short entrance. I mean, it doesn't service all the people in the back. And I get it, that was old code and y'all changed the code, but that's really gonna affect the value of this property owner's land because as a developer, we look at it as what's the cost to install the infrastructure, how many lots we can get, and those numbers have to work. So making the lots wider, they're more appealing, we can charge a little more for them. It's still, this property only has 700 feet of road frontage. Most septic lots are 300 feet in depth. So you're only gonna be able to get one street in there. Truly. So we're shortening that street up. I think it was 1,200 feet with a roundabout with another 1,200 feet and a cul-de-sac is what we're looking at. And I welcome any questions or comments.
So if we do go to 38 lots, what does that look like? Like, how many acres? Because I know you said it was going to be one with a large acreage.
It's going to be,
So-
it'll be 38 lots that'll be 125 feet wide and about 330 or 300 feet deep to 350 feet deep, depending on open space if we have to provide that. So I would say the lots would all be an acre and a quarter, acre into a half in size. Just thinking those dimensions in my head, with that back track probably being 38 acres, I think is what it was.
About the same. I was saying it's about like the same as the Andrews.
I think so.
Barbara, if it's the council's decision to tonight send this back to planning and zoning, is there enough time to get on September's schedule?
Yes, sir. Deadline would be next Friday, August 27th.
Okay.
Bring the application back to the planning.
Okay. Thank you, Ned. Right now, I did have we'll open the public hearing for comment, and I did have someone sign up to speak in favor, and that's Mr. George Baker III.
Hi,
Hey.
Mayor and council members, thank y'all for allowing us to present to you. I'm George Baker with Baker Group. I represent the owners. I just wanted to speak for them because they've had some health issues. They couldn't make it to Planning Commission or City Council because of that, but they just wanted to relay that we'd like to respectfully ask for this variance, trying to do something that might be a little less dense for the city, and get something that would work for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Okay, I'll now close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion and action.
I'll make a motion to table it, or to send it back down to the planning and zoning, let them present the 38 acres, and see if they bring it back up to us. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion to send this back to the planning and zoning process. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Jackson, second from Councilmember Price. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You opposed?
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Butler. All right, public hearing number 3 is the consideration of alcohol pouring license, including distilled spirits for the 10 Plate restaurant located at 198 Sycamore Street.
Mr. Mayor, this is for an applicant who's requesting for an alcohol license to include distilled spirits. Pretty straightforward. The applicant's Keith Bell. He represents 10 Plate Restaurant at 198 Sycamore Street. Staff has looked through the application, and there is nothing that would prevent him from being issued this license, and so therefore we do recommend approval.
Thank you, Eric. This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing to see if there's anyone here to speak in favor or in opposition of this request. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion from Councilmember Shelton, second from Councilmember Boyd. Any further discussion?
It was Tyson.
Oh, it's Tyson. Okay, I'm sorry. It's hard to tell from over here. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. That concludes our public hearings. If anyone's here just for that, you're welcome to stay with us, or you can take a moment to exit out. All right, next on our agenda are the financial statements.
Mayor, the finance director, Jennifer Fricks, is out ill today, and so I am going to make an attempt to interpret her charts for her. Starting with the fiscal year that ended June of 2021. Still going through some of the numbers right now as some of the expenses are still rolling in. But it looks like we're going to finish the year in pretty good shape. The revenue is at 105.29% budgeted numbers, which is about $295,000 higher than expected. And that's largely because of the $237,000 for the CARE grant, and then there was also numerous taxes that came in higher than budget over the course of the year. And then on the expense side, we're going to finish that. But right now we're about 95.19% with some expenses still coming in, although we are getting to the point where that will be closed out, and it should come in under the budgeted number. So we should finish the year with a pretty good surplus. In terms of the water fund revenue, revenues are less than anticipated due to GFA funding not being as high as originally budgeted. However, without consideration of these funds, the revenues are higher than expected, and expenses are all where they should be. And then on the gas revenues, the gas revenues appear lower, but that will change once accruals are completed. We're still booking the revenues for Stanton Spring Gas revenue, and they were received after June of 2021. And so expenses are higher due to expense for gas purchase for resale being higher than anticipated. And since those revenues offsets those expenses, once all entries and amendments are made, this fund should finish up where it should finish up in terms of when it was budgeted. Solid waste funds are higher than originally budgeted, and expenses are where they should be at this time. It's about 103.41% on the revenues, which is about $12,000 difference compared to what we budgeted. And that's largely due to franchise fee and garbage collection charges coming in higher than budgeted. In terms of current year, there really isn't much to look at right now. We're only 1 month into the year, and so charts like this can be a little bit deceiving in that in terms of percentage-wise for the year, you really should be hitting anything either around the 8.33% mark on an annualized basis. And so on the general fund revenues, as you can see, we're only at about 3% after 1 month, and 3.8%, I'm sorry, 9.34% on the expense side. And this is largely due to, there are a lot of one-time expenses that are typically due around the first month of the year, in particular your property and liability expenses, and that will be the same across all funds. And then also, in terms of the water fund, same thing with repairs and maintenance and property and liability insurance being your large expenses for the year, but we also had our one-time service, debt service payments that were due in June or in July. And so this is something that will even out over the course of the year as revenues start to come in. And then same with the gas fund. All funds are in line with where they have been in previous years, and so there's really nothing to worry about at this point. Any questions?
Questions for Eric? I'll entertain under one motion June and July.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Boyd, second from Councilmember Shelton. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Eric, will you guide us through the consent agenda, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. There are 8 items on the consent agenda for this evening. Item 1 is approval of executive session minutes from June 15th, 2021. We have approval of the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular meeting on July 20th, 2021. We have an executive session minutes of July 20th, 2021. And we also have the minutes of the Mayor and Council work session from August 3rd, 2021. Apart from minutes, we also have consideration of a resolution to adopt the Walton County Hazard Mitigation Plan update for 2020 to 2025. And this plan evaluates hazards, identifies resources and capabilities, and develops the preferred mitigation actions to eliminate or reduce damage to public health, safety, and welfare. And this is a countywide plan, and it was funded by a grant from FEMA at no cost to the city. So this is something we are part of the entire county on this entire plan. We have approval of the city employee benefits package. That is for the year beginning October 1st, 2021. And this sets rates for the city-provided benefits, including health, dental, and basic life insurance. And also sets rates for the voluntary benefits, those that are paid by employees for vision, term life, short-term disability, and long-term disability. And it also includes administration costs for our HRA and FSA funds. This approval is for a 3% increase on the buy-up side for health insurance. I will note that this was negotiated down from a proposed increase of 11.1% from Humana, who is our current provider, and it is contingent on them retaining the health, life, and vision, which is about $260 increase over the course of the year for vision. There is a $900 increase, or 4%, for dental with Emeritus, and all other benefits stay the same as the current year. As far as the FSA and HRA administration, that is for change in administrator also from TASC to MedCom at no additional charge over this year, and rates are locked in for another 3 years for that particular function for the benefits. And then the last item on the consent agenda is to award the contract for the Goodyear pressure improvement gas main extension. The city received 3 bids for this project, and we recommend awarding to D-Lance Southern Incorporated. They are the lowest responsive bidder at a cost of $163,551.50.
Thank you, Eric. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Shelton, second from Councilmember Price. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Under old business, first and only item is to authorize an engineering study for the downtown parking lot. Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, I would like to combine the background for this item and the next item, since it's essentially one item. The old business, as it relates to the parking lot, on July 20th, 2021, there was an item seeking approval to conduct a survey and engineering study on land that the city was leasing from the United Methodist Church for a parking lot. And after discussion during that meeting, the council tabled that item to tonight to allow for the opportunity for further conversation between the city and the church. And so on August the 2nd, I, as well as Mayor Keener and the city attorney, met with the pastor and the chairman of the board of trustees for the church, and through the course of the meeting, it was sort of mutually decided that the current terms of the lease are no longer practical, and the lease should therefore be reconsidered. And at our last work session, the position of both sides was presented, and it was agreed by council that this lease was no longer the best option for the city, and the lease should be terminated. And so in addition to that, staff was directed to seek costs to design a parking lot on land currently owned by the city behind the parking lot, as well as Friendship Park. As of right now, we have received 2 proposals for that, and so we're awaiting the third, and we'll bring that back to you guys at the next work session. And so, so the recommendation for this item is to deny the authorization for an engineering study for the downtown parking lot on land owned by the Social Circle United Methodist Church. And then for the new business item, staff is recommending approving the termination of the lease agreement.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the denial of an engineering study and authorize the termination of a lease agreement with the First United Methodist Church.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion from Councilmember Price and a second from Councilmember Shelton. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2 under new business, consideration of an ordinance to establish curfew for minors under 18.
Is going to come up here and discuss this particular item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We started this out on May 6th with a discussion about maybe creating a juvenile evening curfew, and came back on August 3rd and did a recommendation agenda item for it. And I want to thank the attorneys, Tony and Jay, for cleaning up some language that was implemented there. So tonight, it still stands as my utmost interest is the safety of the juveniles out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning under the age of 17, outside of being in a parental control under some guidance. So I'm asking for your consideration of approving a juvenile eating curfew ordinance. Again, just for the safety of the kids, and it also teaches kids responsibility as well as parents, boundaries. Councilman Jackson mentioned something about sexual assaults that I guess some training he went to, but it's true. You got gang violence, you got human trafficking is real. You got 14, 15, 16, 17, and I backed up to 11 years old that's out here doing things, being taken advantage of by undesirables. So.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief? Mr. Attorneys, you have reviewed this and approved? Eric, what's your recommendation?
Recommendation is to approve this ordinance.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Shelton and a second from Councilmember Price. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all so much.
Final item on our agenda is to approve a contract with Cyril's Consulting to advocate for state-level funding.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, at the last work session, I presented to the council efforts that the city was taking to seek potential funds for the construction of a new wastewater treatment plant via potential grant money that's being released through both state infrastructure funds and also federal infrastructure funds. And as of right now, the federal side has not been released yet, and so I announced that we were seeking the assistance through the state of Georgia State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund that was created with ARPA money. And as part of the discussion, I brought up the idea of hiring a representative from Cyril's Consulting to advocate for the city at the state level on the city's behalf. That particular contract with Cyril's is $25,000 for a period of 3 months. And approval of this item will formally recognize the direction of Mayor and Council from that evening. That due to the time-sensitive nature of the state approval period is from a period of August 1st to August 31st. This is a retroactive approval. So we are already engaged in services with her, and she is already advocating for the city on our behalf. And so we do recommend approval. And this is for $25,000 for 3 months.
Thank you, Eric. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion from Councilmember Shelton, second from Councilmember Boyd. Any further discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
One opposition was Tyson, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. I don't know of a need for an executive session tonight. I want to thank you all for coming out, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
It's a fast one, thank you.